Greetings, Tabula Rasa, Layer 3, Part 2. Thanks for being with me. By starting this series when we did, we are preparing to take advantage of situations that may present themselves in the years ahead when many will not be prepared for them, in my opinion, and they will find them paralyzing. That's what we termed the freeze in the early work that we've talked about here in the early layers of Tabula Rasa. By slowly working through this series, as we've done, with concepts that, as you've seen, are on many levels, we gradually build a tolerance to more intense activity in the markets, which could not be managed initially, and that's where we're at right now, and we're going to move ahead with a big jump today. In the years ahead, certain traders will gain an incredible edge, in my opinion, by preparatory work, such as we're doing right now, therefore not pulling back when so-called worldwide shock hits. Fortunately, the last few months have given us a real gift, in my opinion, in the euro situation. This allows us what I term a speed check to gauge where we really truly stand the last 4 months of this ongoing process. If we folded in this test, then we had better look inside. We're going to be dealing with that today, inner work versus outer work. The here and now, for much more is ahead. And if we haven't been able to go through with control and stay in our place of detachment, if we haven't been able to stay in that center point that will be defined clearly today, the place of power, then we have to pull back and say what's wrong, or can we move on? Trading on the outside, or truly learning what inside trading is all about. Yet, as you will see on today's discussion, the so-called surprises of the years directly ahead are in no way negative, but an opportunity like we've never had before that will produce energy that we can use in our advantage, an opportunity for you to do what you need to do for yourself as a trader, for your family, and for the world. Developing the foundation for trading energetically. That's where we're headed today. Shadows and focus on the center point. A focal point of energy, and the emotionalism is how I like to describe that. And also today, that rock-solid place of operation, without wobbling, as we expand through sliding the time frames as appropriate to take maximum advantage of whatever emotionalism is out there. Using that energy to our advantage, not running from it. From the very start of the series, a common theme has been both sides. Both sides of the board. Do you remember many, many months ago when I stood and drew the line up the middle of the board? The middle point. We've always gone through that, repetitious, going through time and again the middle, both sides, because the middle is the place of power, as we'll talk about today, the environment, if you will, where we conduct energetic trading. It's the middle, and it requires two sides. Always. Always the two sides. You'll recall that we have made certain lists. We made up the lists, and then we talked about grouping them into certain traits, and then we went on with that in Tabula Rasa 3 Part 1. At that point, we were terming them mistakes. Quick temper on one side. The other side, daring, courage, enthusiasm, activity, key components to success. So what is quick temper? It's a shadow. Here and here. Always. And this is how we build the rock-solid place of operation, as I call it. It's right in the middle. So what is this shadow? It's the point of us that we fail to know or address, or we don't want to know, but it's still there, and it's not going away. Like the bullish trader who fails to see the other side and goes down because he has to hold on to what he said. Do you notice how so many times on the commentary at night I offer both sides? You come in bullish. It's like you do a debate and you're prepared to go in with one side, and the teacher then pulls the plug at the last second on you and turns the tables and said, argue the other side. Wow, sometimes that's a valuable tool. much more important than you sometimes think. But the nightly commentary gives me a chance to build both sides, because brilliant minds, brilliant minds playing the ultimate chess game every single day are on both sides of the market, because it's both sides of the board, buy and sell at any given time. And it must be acknowledged by us each night in Tabula Rasa, in the market and in the trader. One more time, both sides of the board. Acknowledge both. Key. Acknowledgement is the first step to discernment, to the ability to override, and is a function of energy management, trading energetically. We simply cannot have division and operate at a place of clarity. The so-called dark side contains what we refuse to address, what we find unacceptable. But it doesn't go away. Just because we've refused to address it, it's not going to disappear. In fact, it does the opposite. It collects and is a major energy source that we can tap into if unclogged. Just because you think gold, somebody will say gold's going to 2,500. It doesn't mean that you don't need to address an ever-changing and totally unique probability pool in the now moment that may tip to 1,400 first. But it's not simply denial or simply being foolish in trading. It's death if not addressed. And ironically, exactly what we need to build the edge. So the stakes are taken on a whole different meaning at this point. Acknowledge these areas. They're always going to be there. And these are areas that 95% of traders don't and won't ever address because they feel it's unnecessary or uncomfortable or neither, or they say this is just plain crazy what this guy is talking about. Well, it's mandatory and it's an energy surge. And it's the way towards trading energetically. Now, an ironic twist. Well, it's rather easy to see why the so-called unwanted sides, the dark side, are tossed into the bin that we call the shadow here. Something above the norm. Maybe we even call that your gold, your pure gold part of you, is also placed there by most people. It tends to be much easier to go through the mistake family and say, oh, man, yeah, I did that wrong. Oh, yeah, I did that wrong. I did that wrong. But we need to address all the good that sometimes you put over here and ignore. I can't compete with those big boys. Want to bet? Do I need to name names of some big boys that aren't doing real good? Keep in mind, if one indulges on the right, for balance there is equal weight on the left. Equal, always, because it's the law. And it's there for us to take advantage of in our trading, especially during times of extreme volatility which are ahead. The very thing that may cause some to run is the very thing that we started to do these videos for. The very reason that we began this series, to be ready for 2012. And the farther you pull away this way, the greater it goes equal opposite direction, equal and opposite reaction. And that's what we're going to see. That's where we're going to go today. Example. You make a big score in the market. Suddenly, it's not real money. I'm not saying right now. You're not there after all of this. But you've been there, and so have I in the past. You get lazy. You don't need to do the charts. Or in our case, you wouldn't need to do the bridge. What in the world? Why would I do that? Or Tabula Rasa. What a pain that all is. And sure enough, bang, you pay the price suddenly, and the trader says, they got me. They did it to me. Well, who did it? Nobody. No consistency, no flow, because not operating from a known place of operation. And where is that known place of operation? It's right in the middle. Here comes another one of those stories. I started out as a trade recorder on the floor of the exchange. Who would have thought that 40 years ago I'd be telling this story and doing a video entitled Tabula Rasa, Layer 3? Never say never, folks. Anyway, I watched this guy one day. I watched him all the time because he was different in that he made money. Don't think that everybody does on the floor. Maybe there were a lot of guys that didn't, to say the least. And so this guy made money, so, I'm a kid and I want to see the guys that made money and I want to find out what they do and I want to do it myself. And so he got my attention. Then one day another trader got right in his face. I mean, right in this guy's face. And he was kind of a little guy, and this is a big guy, and he's right there yelling at him. You know, it was a fill or something was no good, or this or this. And the guy just stood there. He looked at him, you know, he didn't ignore him, you know, to get him more mad. He looked right at him, and the guy's basically, you know, just right in his face, yelling at him. And it looks like it could break into a fight. Finally, the guy gets tired, because this other guy that I'm watching, he doesn't do a thing. He just lets the guy go on and on and on. And so the guy finally has had it and goes away. So I'm standing next to this guy. You know, you're waiting for the next order to record. And so he looks at me, and I'm expecting him to discuss this scene that just broke out, you know? Instead he says to me, I don't understand why Fisher made that move. You know, absolutely, totally calm. Now, that was the chess championship back then between Fisher and Spassky, and he knew I played chess, so he wanted to talk about a chess move. And I just stood there. Finally, I said, well, what's the story with this guy? And he said, look, kid, I make money every year. I've seen that guy go bust twice. Okay, I said, but he wanted to fight you. So I can still see this. He took me aside, we walked back into the dark shadows where they used to have those old Translux tickers with the yellow tape coming out. Do you remember those? And he opens this wallet and he pulls out a card. And he shows it to me, and he's a black belt expert teacher. He said, don't ever tell anybody. And we went right back on. Point. He knew his place of operation. There's nothing to add. He had a losing trade, he moved to the center. He had a winning trade, he moved back to the center. Efficiency and no energy wasted, because he knew he couldn't afford it or he'd lose his job. Because if you lose that energy by making these mistakes, you're not going to put them in the potential trades, and that's what we do for a living. So you can't do it. It took me a long time to understand the middle is the place of operation, not boring. It's just the opposite. And it's where energetic trading is born, and the power is there, and we're looking right at it and how to harness it. I used to say a lot of traders flip. Remember there used to be a term, the guys flipped. And I didn't realize that that's exactly what they do. They flip. They completely go to one side and flip over. It's an unbalanced situation, and they flip. Many are going to flip in a period of time acceleration, such as we have ahead. Balance, counterweight. Create means we must destroy. How many times did we talk about that at the board as we planted the seeds that now are starting to, here we go with them, starting to grow. Light has corresponding darkness. You know these analogies. What happened when you balance the two sides? Market intuition comes in, and power. So what's the secret? Always acknowledging the other side. And here is the beauty of this situation. It doesn't have to be acted upon. You don't have to punch the guy. Okay? You could just say, I'd probably like to punch him. And smile to yourself and go right on. And it did the exact same thing with balance, because the energy doesn't know any different. What a deal. I mean, this law is really great, isn't it? What a deal if you work with it. I'm daring, I'm enthusiastic, I'm courageous. Oh, there's my quick temper. Well, how fascinating. You know, it came up there because I'm daring and I'm enthusiastic and I'm courageous. And I feel the rush because I didn't do anything with that other side, but I acknowledged it. You're completely under control, and you're in that place of operation. And the environment has been created for attraction. We're going to move into putting energy into the template. We're not just going to talk about it. We're going to do it. And it comes through a unique way we're going to go. And I'm not going to go into Tabula Rasa 4 yet, because we have to do 1, 2, 3 just like we've done them before we can inject energy. But the law of attraction works in strange, unique ways. There's some things on intent in the law that I need to discuss with you. in trading. And we will do that as we get to Tabula Rasa 4. From shadow, we need to move to projection, the next concept. The trader and the market, or observing the energy in the market, is it projecting on you, or are you projecting on the market? Unless we address this, the shadow is going to be projected, because projection onto someone or something else is much easier than acknowledging it for most people. In teaching many years ago, I used to call this the theory of casting. I've changed. It's actually projection. Market example, project quick temper onto the market, and here comes the mistake family revisited, doesn't it? You don't project it. Most projections represent failure to take responsibility for your own creation, of course. It's much easier to project them than to convert, digest, and absorb them. Into the middle, the place of power. Projection is a fatal energy loss versus assimilation and potent gain used on developing the next strategy. That's why we set up what we set up every night. In my example of the trader on the floor a few moments ago, he remained in his position of operation with 100% certainty of the outcome. He knew where he stood, beyond a shadow of a doubt. The market could throw this at him or this at him. He's just going to go back to the middle. Not only fail to respond to meaningless situations and lose energy, but actually absorb the projected energy from the other guy. Oh, this is a key. He actually took that gentleman, spent that energy on him, and he took it to his advantage. Talk about turning the tables. Whoa, that's trading energetically. It's brilliance. And it can be done hundreds of times a day with awareness. This is a Pythagorean teaching, is what it really is. I'll give you right now. Each night, similar to the bridge, which is of course a consciousness shift, and Tabula Rasa, the student practiced reliving the day in vivid awareness as a teaching tool, a very powerful teaching tool, and not taking a burden into sleep. Signs and signals used to guide us during the day in our trading. And they can come from strange places. Using every experience that we go through as a test as to how we choose to respond and apply to our work as traders. The brief review at the start of the bridge, did you do what you had to do as a detached observer? The review of life situations during the day that offer incredible opportunities to practice choosing to flow with the positive. Seemingly trivial matters becoming alive with power that we store and use in trading energetically and applying to our creation. Understanding the energy leads to discernment. Then, taking that energy into the middle, focusing and directing, and attracting, as we shall do, as it brings us into Tabula Rasa 4. Why consider all of this? Because intensity, not tension, times duration equals effect or manifestation. That's what we need to bring to the table each night, and we're going to do it. Where did that exchange of energy come from? Now we move to discerning the source. Inner versus outer. Was the energy projected on you? In today's mercurial age, when we're bombarded with energies from everywhere, many unwanted projections come to us that we can't avoid. Therefore, we have to acknowledge them. Many independent traders have headed for the hills to escape and focus on their work. In my case, it was head to the woods. Yet, at a stage in the trader's evolution, isolation isn't necessary anymore. There's a period of that. There's a period when you put your... Maybe Tabula Rasa 1 to 3 can do that. Speed, maybe all the years of 40 years I can do can speed you through that process. Maybe not. Maybe you still need to go and pull back and do that. Wonderful. It's an absolutely fabulous experience. But maybe it's time to emerge, if you will. For we now consider chaos as a gift. The very thing that you may have run from, we can now embrace. And actually use this incredible energy that's coming in the coming year, to our advantage. How many times have you heard me say chaos precedes change? It breaks the limits down for something much greater to appear, including in our trading. And trading isn't going away after 2012. There'll be changes, but they're going to be beautiful. Building, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Build, 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 build. And that's where we're at right now. It always has been, it always will be. There's nothing unusual. Because it's the law. You're already seeing a taste, aren't you? You just have to watch TV. This is an easy sale, because all you have to do is watch TV. It's showing you that we needed to do exactly what we started 4 months ago with this website. It's the period of time acceleration, and sometimes I say to myself, I never dreamt it would come this fast. But it's faster and faster every day, and more potential energy. Choice. The same situation can bring you down, or it can let you soar. What are we going to run through the template? That's what we're doing in 1 through 3. Now, if this is even slightly ringing true to you, just slightly ringing true to you, then a critical shift is taking place, one of many. Now, at this point, I'd like to make a series of observations. I write many notes at night. Here are some of the things that I think we need to review. I have strange nights. But I chose 7. That seems to be a fun number for me, so I chose 7 for today. And we'll just read these. 1. At this point, I think you can see there is much more to addressing past errors than simply pointing out where you went wrong, and now magically, through experience, you are perfected. The reason we readdressed on the last video, you'll recall, going back and looking at some of those things that you didn't want to look at and I forced you to do it, not eliminating past lemons is that they're going to continue in some form, hence the mistake family concept. They come in different forms. The family concept of a mistake. But you might not call them errors any longer. Shadow acknowledgement is the springboard to trading energetically. 2. When a trader believes that simply more data in this mercurial age is the answer, he assumes that outer work will be consistently valuable even if he somehow learns to shift through all that's out there. Actually, chance or partial success from this posture is to the trader's long-term detriment. When the trader realizes, usually a wake-up call from some failure, that something very different is being demanded in today's environment and is now available to him, he makes a radical position change by finding that power fulcrum between the outer and the inner work, because the point of rest becomes and is a point of power. 3. Applying the token, which we began talking about on the last Tabula Rasa, Part 1, is the act of conscious override. There are tokens of knowledge and wisdom and ones of raw energy. Discerning the necessary energy for application requires training. Again, we stress the uniqueness and dynamics of each situation, for energetic trading is a true diagnostic process of revivification conducted at the center point during Tabula Rasa. Excuse me. 4. To gain insight into the meaning of apply the token, one must consistently practice the art of overriding in everyday opportunities, or the magic of everyday life. Awareness is developed by overriding mundane, if you will, situations all day long, consistently moving or lifting above. Practice the concept of lifting. 5. Energetic trading is the eventual result of having our skills of operation honed in the maximum energy location, the center point of rest. You will find you cannot simply reside there, but receive brief flashes, for it's simply too much to handle initially. Certain tools applied during the bridge period may be helpful in this process. More on that in Reflections from the Bridge. 6. Being a detached observer isn't a cutesy comment. It's truly a vantage point. Is it above or is it in the emotions? Where is its origin? And learn to ask, where is it coming from? Unless the disjunction is radical, you'll be pulled right back down like a magnet. Constantly watch. Key. Practice a moment of hesitation before acting on a thought. Asking, where did it come from? I'm going to repeat that. Practice in your detachment. Practice a moment of hesitation before acting on a thought. And ask, where did it come from? Acknowledgement and move right back to the center with no damage. 7. The concept of choices. In the pivotal number trading system, we choose to meet each night with a clean slate, no baggage, fresh start with profits and potential trades. You can choose to utilize valuable energy on problems or potentials. It's your choice. You can also choose what time frame affords the best opportunity in a given now. Use the concept of time to your advantage, and we will. I'd like to end today's gathering with a brief discussion on the benefits of uniqueness and freshness. A beautiful idea. From the very start here of the Tabula Rasa series, and thank you for being here, by the way, and all these hours of teaching, we always look at uniqueness. Both sides of the board again. There has never been, and there never will again, be anybody like you. You're completely unique, and I honor that. Go to the other side of the board for a minute. Every situation in the market that we address in Tabula Rasa each night, every one of them in the market is totally unique. Right now, eliminate preconceived notions and generalizations of worn-out technical formations. At best, they are simply groupings to give you vague notions of future action. They served their purpose. Instead, with this freshness, understand the uniqueness of each position in the collective consciousness worldwide that plays out in the now. So I plant a seed. Where do systems producing seemingly incredible black box results go amiss? Why aren't they producing for 95% of the traders? What's the deal? Uniqueness. And in the future, we will specifically address how a system can flow with uniqueness and not force a rigidness on the market which it will not accept. It's very exciting. What a year ahead. The concept of time versus timing, adjusting time, and the concept of the trader's office and how to obtain maximum profitability in the year ahead by sliding. Thanks for being with me, and I'll see you on part 3.